Today's workshop is called The Assault on Science, in fact, Building Resilient Institutions to Advance Truth, but it will go deeper into that. Across the world, institutions responsible for producing, evaluating, and communicating knowledge, and Manolis just gave us an example of that, are operating under increasing political, economic, social pressure and from many fronts. We've seen that in many examples since last Monday, so just this week in the On Politics gathering. Um, Across public health, climate science, universities, scientific agencies, regulatory bodies, and even the information ecosystem itself that connects science with society. So these pressure take form many forms essentially, whether it's political influence, whether it's funding decision or funding cuts, whether it's institutional capture themselves or attack on scientific independence itself, and even suppression or manipulation of data and coordinated disinformation campaigns. And we see that gradual erosion of public trust appearing. That's definitely one of the big consequences on top of many others, but definitely that's there. Although these pressures arise in different political systems, so indeed we might all think about what's happening in the US right now, but it's happening in so many other countries as well. Even if it's a different political system, different cultural context, we see these assault on the scientific, our big science sector. And they remarkably follow similar patterns. With many colleagues today, by the way, just after me, we'll be exploring many different aspects of this. In the workshop, just after, so after these short talks, we'll discuss how it's materializing. So we'll define the three layers that were in the 7 work stream that were identified and worked on in the last On Politics gathering this last February, and also at the previous science policy group meetings in the fall of last year. And we'll add today a new perspective. We'll call that the Inquisition lens. And we'll discuss this in the coming minute. So it's not just a rhetoric term, but it's more like as an analytical framework describing the situations in which power seeks to define truth. And I'm saying defining truth here, nothing about the real truth, but they're defining their truth, their loyalty, their legitimacy, replacing the empirical inquiry essentially with what we call the doctrinal certainty, and even persecuting heretics. Okay, think of it in a large term. But rather than debating the political actors and who's good or is bad or is wrong, the following workshop will ask a broader question. How do we build scientific institutions that remains transparent, that remains independent, trusted, and also effective under this political stress, this sustained stress that they need to survive? And how in my question is the keyword here. So we'll talk about solutions, implementations. We'll analyze them through the lens of finding how it could be implemented. So from system analysis, and we'll have a talk from Walter on that, to resilient infrastructure. We'll have an example from John and Claire talking about the Library of Science for Science Policy. And then we'll talk about social capacity and how we can build coalitions to support that. So throughout this session, our goal is not simply to identify the problem, but it's to begin designing solutions, designing a system. So hopefully by the end of the 75 minutes of the workshop, we'll have advance on the foundation of it. Doesn't mean to have the solution all done today, but it's just to advance on the foundation, making sure we share a threat map. We have an initial design principle set defined. We have started to think about resilient infrastructure, etc. Because science.
Seconds, Stephane.
Yes, I'm finishing. Because if science is to continue to serve public good, we cannot rely only on individual scientists or even isolated institutions that are really fragile. We must build systems.